piracy, mystery, and adventure await a pair of brothers. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Hembar. Today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Aaron Rosenberg's Deadly Fortune. Deadly Fortune is a 2022 novel by Aaron Rosenberg and the third Eldros Legacy novel released, though this one is a standalone. It is also the first set on the continent of Shiurin, though this isn't one of the main overarching world plot books set on Shiurin. But again, this is Eldros Legacy, which is a shared world for those unaware. I have done reviews for the first book, Kaivan the Unkillable, as well as Seeds of Dominion. And I will record reviews for the following ones as well, probably all of them, at least at this rate. So specifically, this one takes place in an archipelago in the Brahmar Ocean on the southeast of the continent. That's basically the scene for most of the story, though I'm not actually sure where it starts, but I'd guess Amaranth. I'm not sure of that. But it mostly takes place in the city of Serparkat, or Serpakat, or I don't know how to say it. And again, that's mostly the setting. Now, I feel like the city itself is decently explored and realized with food and clothing and taste, and caste, the caste system in particular. But sometimes it also felt like it was rather light world building, and that's probably mostly because the world building actually stayed tied directly to the story, so it didn't feel like it was overkill by any means. Now, as far as our characters go, we have Sundra, or Sundra, I'm not sure how to say his name again. He's a young noble and sort of a rake, or at least that's initially the vibe he gives off. I don't know if it doesn't, he's not really filling that second part here later in the story, but he finds himself in a duel against a man he offended and accidentally ends up killing him in combat. That's like the very first paragraph, so that's no spoiler. Now the man he killed is a Sirdar, and Sundra must flee for his life since that's a sort of nobility. It doesn't matter that he is the son of a Sirdar as well. Now, our other character is Ruhi, is the daughter of a merchant, and her aunt is encroaching onto her freedom, forcing her to be more properly ladylike, so she can find a husband. Instead of dealing with this, she runs away from home, which seemingly she seemed to have partially had planned for a while, since she kind of flees rather quickly into the story. Now, short into the story rather than late, this is, again, rather a pretty short novel. The two find themselves together. It is kind of a sea adventure. It does actually take place mostly on land. It's actually more of a murder mystery than anything. But it does have a bit of a sea adventure part to it. It's rather short. There's pirates. Of course, it is fantasy, so there's a good dose of magic. It's rather light, but it is important. I think it's interesting that the characters are just incompetent and prone to foibles that any youth would be. These are not experienced adventurers, and I think this actually kind of would lend the book to a younger audience as well, though it's definitely about some dark topics like slavery and murder, but I feel like that's kind of typical fantasy fare, but our protagonists are rather young, so I think it would work still for younger audiences. I don't know, maybe some people would disagree. There are some good surprises and plot twists as well, though, and there are definitely some mysterious deaths that are a big part of the plot. And I think it's handled rather well. Again, this is one of those stories, just like any murder mystery, that if you pay attention to the even the small things, that you should be able to make some connections. I did make a couple connections before the actual characters, though I didn't make a lot. So it's still pretty entertaining, pretty surprising in some parts. And also, I think this isn't too much of a spoiler for some, but I think it's pretty interesting that this is not romantic really in the slightest, right? Like, we have our main character who is a rake, and then our other main character who is a young girl, and there's no romantic relationship going on at all, which was actually kind of refreshing. And yeah, I found that refreshing. So also, again, the title is great since it's not really about fortune as in money, but more as in luck and fate, which, is clever since it's kind of about pirates. You think it might be about the latter, or rather the idea of fortune and bounty or wealth. Again, while I actually didn't find this story particularly enthralling, it took me a little longer to read than I would have hoped since it was rather short. I would not mind seeing Ruhi and Sentra again in story form. And this was my first novel read by Aaron Rosenberg. So we'll see if I read anything else by him. If he does write more in Eldros Legacy, I most certainly will. But these are my short thoughts. Thanks for watching. This has been Williams. I see you. I'll catch you next time.